gig.
Yeah, Netherworld Dancing Toys for today. Always great to listen to here at One-Eyed FM. Now, time is flying by. And in a couple of weeks' time, the 2012 London Olympics open in all their glory. And I thought for our Strange But True section today, I'd dig up some strange but true Olympic facts. And there's some quite weird ones here. Mahatma Gandhi was once an Olympic correspondent. He was a newspaper reporter, apparently, for the 1932 Olympic Games held in Los Angeles. So look at the list of newspaper correspondents for these games and just wonder who's going to be the star of the future. Black athletes didn't win the marathon. Now we think that's almost de rigueur that they will. They first won the marathon in 1960, and that was Abibi Bikela, who many of you may remember from Ethiopia, who did it in 1960, he did it again in 1964, and in both races he ran barefoot, the great Abibi Bikela from Ethiopia. Now we've been following Usain Bolt and his challenges to try and compete in these games to defend his sprint title. No white person, apparently, has ever run 100 metres in under 10 seconds. The closest was Marian Voronin of Poland, who did it in 10 seconds flat back in 1968. But no white person's ever run under 10 seconds in an Olympic Games. All the fuss is going to be about the gold medals. Well, they haven't been pure gold for 96 years. The last time medals were pure gold was 1912. Ever since that time, they've been silver with gold plating. So when you get a gold medal, it's actually silver with a gold plate. But actually, they haven't always been gold medals. At the first of the modern Olympics in 1896, the first prize getters, this was in Athens, got a silver medal. And the second prize getter, or the second place getter, got an olive branch. So you got a silver medal for first, an olive branch for second, and you got nothing for third. In 1900, they went to Paris, the Games, and they changed it a wee bit. You got a painting for first instead of a gold medal, and in fact, it was not until 1904 that the modern plan of gold, silver and bronze medals was established. The French gave people paintings up until that point because they thought they were actually more valuable than just a cruddy old medallion. It wouldn't be the Olympic Games these days, would it, if there weren't some controversies around drug addiction and drug use. It seems to go hand in hand that people are suspended for drug use at the Olympic Games, but it wasn't always that way. In fact, the first Olympic Games where drug suspension was an issue was Mexico City in 1968, and in those games Hans Gunnar Liljenwall, a Swedish pentathlete, was suspended because he tested positive for a banned substance. And that substance? Alcohol. He'd had a few beers before the pentathlon, which was against the rules, and so he was suspended. The other thing that happens at the Olympic Games these days is the contest for who's going to win all the medals, and increasingly it's China. But China didn't win its first medal until 1984 at the Los Angeles Games. It's hard to believe that now because China just wins everything. But it was 1984 when a man called Zhu Haifeng won gold in the 50-metre pistol event. 28 years ago, China's first gold medal. Count how many they get at these games. I think these games are just over 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. Well, that's a lot shorter than they used to be. The 1908 Olympic Games in London, also in London, started in April and didn't end until October. They lasted 187 days. Imagine 187 days of Olympic Games. That was the 1908 Games in London. And finally, there's a 62-year age difference between the oldest and the youngest Olympians ever. The youngest person to ever compete at an Olympic Games was Dimitrios Landras, a Greek gymnast in the 1896 Olympics. He was a 10-year-old. And the oldest man to ever compete was Oskar Swan, a Swedish shooter. That's a bit of a tongue twister. Oskar Swan, a Swedish shooter, who competed in the Antwerp Games in 1920, and he was 72. I think there was just something in the news recently about another elderly competitor who may have been a wee bit older than Mr. Schwan, but it's interesting to think a 62-year age gap between a 10-year-old and a 72-year-old. So what exciting dramas, surprises, scandals will the London Olympics throw up in the next few weeks? A bit worried during the week to hear that the security firm covering them was so bad that they've had to bring the army in, but then I'm not sure what else you'd do in that situation. And also people had gone to court because there were surface-to-air missiles being located on the roofs of their apartment buildings. I hope none of this has to come to pass. Anyway, that's the London Olympic Games. It's just about time for me to close up for this week. I'll be back 7 days from today. Always keen to hear your messages. You can store them up at onenightfm.co.nz/chat. I'll answer them when we get to air next Saturday, or you can just ring me online, 478 0582. But it's a big week ahead, a great rugby weekend ahead of us tonight. Fantastic display from the Hurricanes last night. I didn't think they had it in them. But are all these other results going to go their way? Are the Crusaders going to lose to the Force? Unlikely. Are the Bulls going to lose to the Cheetahs? I think that's very unlikely. Are the Brumbies and the Reds? That's an interesting contest. And then there's the other one between the Sharks and one of the other the Lions, I think it is, the lowly placed South African sides. So it's probably a bit of an uphill task for the Hurricanes to get through, but they played very well last night. I thought that they really stuck to the task, and it obviously bodes well for next season. But then, unfortunately, it's always next season when it comes to the Hurricanes. Anyway, this is Peter Dunne. Have a good week. See you 7 days from now. Bye-bye.